Welcome to Aspire to Retire. I'm your host, Cheryl Nelson, and I am here along with Ralph and Tim Short, also with Scott Earhart, all from Welcome Home Financial Partners. Good to be here with you guys again.
Thanks for having us.
So many good topics we're discussing as we talk here on the show, Aspire to Retire. And today we're talking about red money versus green money. But before we get into that, what can our viewers expect by calling in today for advice and also with their questions?
So if they call in from today's show, they'll receive a complimentary consultation, but they will also receive this first meeting package that we send out to everybody who wants to go through the roadmap process. So it's a one-on-one basis. We will create the retirement roadmap based off the information that they provide to us in the meetings. But once again, it's a complimentary consultation.
All right. And red money versus green money. Simply, what's the difference?
Simply, inside the financial industry, what we're talking about with green money is it's safe. It can't lose dollars. Red money can lose.
Okay, we don't want to lose. We don't want to be in the red. We always want to be in the green.
Absolutely.
Now, when it comes to investing and planning for retirement, there's a lot of different terms thrown around in the financial world. One of them is annuity. This is something that I think is a little confusing. So let's break down annuities, what they are.
Well, what I would say first off, when you hear the word annuity, people go, oh my goodness, what is that?
Right.
So basically what it is a financial instrument that will allow you to receive a series of payments, okay? And that's a lot of hogwash for most people because they don't fully understand that, but think about it this way. You have an annuity if you are in retirement and receiving Social Security because that is a series of payments that you're receiving, but it's coming from the federal government, okay, as it stands today.
Sure.
Okay, but the other thing is if you have a pension, that's coming from your employer. That's also a type of annuity. They don't call them annuities, but it is a series of payments that's going to be received by those two different things. Outside of those two areas, the only way that you can get an annuity is a series of payments is going to be from an insurance company.
Oh, okay. So then what's your opinion on annuities?
I would say to most people, it depends on what you're trying to accomplish. If you don't need a series of payments, then you may not need it. But for most people, they're going to need some money to come into them without any loss of principal. So that's another key factor that we talk about.
And I think that when I'm planning with clients, that's the most important thing for me when I present annuities is, do we take a portion of your assets, a portion of your portfolio, and secure it from any loss, any risk from the markets, any risk from anything that happens globally? Let's make sure that you've worked hard for this money. Let's protect it and make sure that you're not going to lose to a force that you can't control.
Yeah.
And it's not always about the payments. You can take a lump sum of money and put it in this annuity, whatever company, whatever type of annuity, and you can have the protection there. You don't have to draw money from it. You can just let it sit there, be protected, but still participate in the market gains. And that's what's key. And a lot of people we make jokes about this all the time. People come in and they want to make all the money in the world. They want to have their money protected to where they can't lose any money.
Of course.
And they want to have access to their money at all times. Well, guess what? That's called a perfect investment, and there is no such thing. So you've got to make sure, and we always go back to the roadmap, is we structure your investments in a certain way where you can get all of those, but they're going to have to be in separate buckets.
And the other thing I'd say that everyone should know about if they do use annuities in their portfolio, tax-deferred growth.
Correct.
You're not paying taxes on your gains until you take it out.
Interesting. So with annuities then, is it different than, say, an IRA? Because I feel like the IRA can fluctuate a lot with the market.
Just understand what an IRA is like a 403B, it's like a 401k. It's the tax code that allows you to shelter your money away from the tax man. That's all it is. It's not the investment. See, that's where most people think that the investment is an IRA. It's not. It is a tax code that allows you to put an investment in it and shelter that money. That's all it is.
Yes.
So if you ever come into the office, you'll see him draw a beautiful tax umbrella and show the different vehicles inside of it. So all it is just a tax qualification of the money. Is all an IRA is. It's not the investment.
Okay, you're also protecting us from Uncle Sam with that tax umbrella.
Correct.
That's correct.
All right, I like that. Now, I've seen marketing campaigns, though, about hating annuities. Why? Why are people hating on them?
Well, the word you used in the question, marketing campaign, that's a big part of it. So the firms that you see out there that say they don't like annuities or I hate annuities and you should too, why are they saying that? Well, they don't operate with annuities. They're trying to use a different vehicle that they profit from to present to their clientele.
Are there different types of annuities that people can get, I guess, is it invest in? Is that the correct term or no?
Yeah, it's where you can put your money.
Okay.
It's not an investment per se, it's with an insurance company. So
Right.
you're insuring your money is what you're doing. So what you do, and it depends on what type of annuity you want to use, and it depends on what you're trying to accomplish. It's all about the individual themselves. There are some people that have no need for an annuity. And there are some people that want annuities and probably shouldn't have annuities because there are certain restrictions on different types of annuities, and we can get into that when they come into the office. But we don't always offer annuities to everybody, but there are people who hate on them, and they just hate on them because, quite frankly, it depends on their fee structure. And that's just the way that it is. So when it comes down to it, I think an annuity for anybody getting close to retirement or in retirement could come into play with their retirement portfolio.
Because at that point, it's safer technically, right? Because you're not feeling the fluctuations of the market. And would that be a fixed index annuity?
That's one type of annuities, and one that we actually work with quite a bit, and I'm a big fan of. What a fixed indexed annuity is going to give you is going to give you that protection of zero. So you can't lose because the market goes down. But you're going to be allowed to pick indexes that your money's tied to, and it can go up with it. So you can get market-like returns with absolutely no risk of loss.
Well, think about it this way,
Yeah.
Cheryl. What if you had $500,000 in your bank today and you were going to retire tomorrow, but the bank, somebody came in there, I don't know who it would be, took $250,000 of your $500 away from your bank account?
Why are they doing that?
That's a good question, because all of a sudden, if you're in a market situation and you want to retire and you lose 50%, that's the same thing.
Ooh. Oh.
Okay?
That's scary. Yeah, I don't like that at
Okay.
all.
So that's why you need to understand your risk. You need to understand the things that Scott was talking about. This is what helps you protect that principal, because when you are in retirement, you don't want to lose half of your money. Do you, Scott?
No.
Nobody does. And a lot of people did that with the market kind of crashing in 2008. And that's been scary for a lot of people. So they're trying to rebound from that and just scramble at the last minute. But there's so many questions. I know a lot of people are looking for advice. And Tim, how can they do that?
So if they call the number you see on the screen, 833-897-4845, what they will expect to receive from us is a personal one-on-one consultation that's complimentary to them, inside of one of our 3 office locations. And the best part is, once again, is we do it on a complimentary basis to the first 10 callers who save $250,000 or more.
All right, take advantage of that free consultation. We need to take a brief break, but as Tim said, those phone lines are now open. So if you'd like some personal advice about retirement planning and more, call that number once again, 833-897-4845. Coming up next, we will explain some of the pitfalls of retirement and what you can do to avoid them. Stay with us.
Imagine the future you've been wanting all along. A world where your retirement income is covered and you don't have to worry. Your financial assets are protected, and you have an experienced team fighting every day to grow your assets. Imagine a company creating tax strategies and legacy plans to make sure your loved ones are protected no matter what happens. At Welcome Home Financial Partners, we're an experienced financial team with the right professional licenses and an unbreakable commitment to making our clients feel like family. Here you'll find determined, friendly faces in a world filled with obstacles and problems. We help plan your retirement income to ensure you won't run out of money in retirement. We build in protection to make sure your assets are covered on all sides. We focus on growing your wealth to combat inflation and rising cost of living. And we design tax strategies to help you avoid paying back what you shouldn't while protecting the people you love. Our team never stops fighting for you. With an unparalleled work ethic, we work hard because we know your future depends on it. We're proud to help you choose the life you want to live in retirement. Welcome to your financial future. We're so glad you're here.
Welcome back to Aspire to Retire. We're talking about planning for retirement and so many questions here. And with a lot of Americans entering retirement, there are some pitfalls and our experts are seeing some of them. So Ralph, Tim, Scott, what pitfalls are people seeing and running into right now?
Well, what I'm seeing the most of right now are people entering retirement and walking into their retirement with far too much risk in their portfolios. Far too much could go wrong. Far too much is not in their control. So that's the biggest pitfall I'm seeing right now.
Well, the other thing too, I would say, is they don't understand what they need to do in retirement. They don't have a plan. Like Tim says, your statement that comes to you on a quarterly basis is not a financial plan. It is a snapshot of your investments, how much you have. That is not a plan. Would you agree?
Yeah, it's not a plan at all. And I think a lot of people, if they do currently work with an advisor, that advisor while they're working, all they're worried about is that investment. They're just trying to build and build and build and build and build, and that's all they're focused in on. And once you get to retirement, getting closer to retirement, you need to shift that focus, because that investment now is going to be your income. And there's advisors out there that they have no idea on how to turn that investment into income. And that's the most important thing, because it's not about, hey, I got $1 million or $2 million. It's, hey, I'm going to have $5,000 or $6,000 or $7,000 coming to me that I know is going to be there for forever.
Oh, gosh. And when you're not talking to folks like you who obviously have this roadmap and look at everyone as an individual, you're talking to somebody. I remember they asked me, do you want low risk, medium risk, or high risk? And I'm like, I have no idea. And I know it depends on a lot of different factors, but I'm curious, people who are coming in to talk to you about retirement planning, what's the average age range that you're seeing?
Well, I would say there's no such thing as an average, but for the perfect client, I would say is within 10 years of retiring, whenever that age is for them, because that gives us enough time to correct maybe or tweak some of the issues that they may be having. Because let's say that you are you've got all international funds in your 401k and it tanks the day that you, so those are things that we talk to people about. How should you reallocate that when you are getting retirement? Also, number one, if you've got 5 to 10 years, maybe you should put more money in to your 401k.
That's
so
true.
it would be bigger. So those are things that we sit down and talk to people about, how to make your retirement better for you, not for us, but for you.
Right, and you can start when you're younger than that too, right? You can start at any point, but how about analyzing your risk though? I just, at what point do you want to go from, yeah, I'm high risk, and then switch to medium and then down to low?
Well, that's a great question, and that is what we specialize in. And as Tim talked about earlier, or we all talked about earlier, sometimes when you're working with advisors that are simply accumulation focused, there's a time in your life for that. We need to grow that money, but that advisor is not working with you for making that money last and then go to work for you. So as you enter into that retirement, when you hit that magic 10-year window before retirement, we need to sit down, do something like our retirement roadmap to really help understand what you're going to need in retirement and how much risk should be involved to achieve that goal.
Yeah, because when you're focused on the accumulation phase, that advisor is always going to tell you to ride it out. You hear it all the time, just ride it out, ride it out, ride it out. Well, guess what? When you're in retirement, that ride it out is not going to work because you're probably going to be relying on that asset or those assets for your income. So let's think about it this way. If you're drawing money out of those accounts and you're losing money, that's a double whammy, as I like to call it. So if you lost 50% of your account, you're going to need, most people think you need 50% to make up. No, you need 100% to make up. So if you're taking money out of the account as well, now you need a lot more. So when you're working and you're in the accumulation phase, you're still making contributions to those accounts. So it's a lot quicker to have that rebound and ride it out. When you're in retirement, you can't make contributions anymore. So it's not the right strategy when you're working and you're in the accumulation phase. Yes, you can ride it out. But once you're in retirement, all of your money does not need to be under the philosophy of ride it out.
No.
The one thing I would say, in an example, a lot of people, I'll give an example of 2008, when you lost probably about 57% of your account.
Awful.
And I will tell people, I said, you know, it's probably taken you 10 to 12 years to get back to being that. Do you have the time to wait to do that?
Right.
And they'll argue, some people argue, oh, it's only took me about 5 or 6 years. And I'm like, yeah, but you forgot about one thing. Yeah, the market went up from 2008 up, but you were contributing, like Tim says, and your employer was contributing. So yes, it probably did take you about 5 or 6 years versus 10, but that's because you added money to it along the way.
It's so stressful and scary to think about that. And that's why I love what you do, because you focus on longevity. You're with the people for the long run. And so if someone hasn't heard from their advisor for a long time, Is that a red flag? I mean, how often should you guys be checking in with clients?
That's absolutely a red flag. If your advisor, it's a partnership. When we're managing money, when we're working with insurance accounts for individuals, we're their partner. We're there with them, as you said, for the long haul. So we need to be checking in with them quarterly, semi-annually, at bare minimum annually, to ensure that their plan is working as we set it out, and their needs haven't changed. I mean, how often do we talk to our clients and something changed since the last time we talked to them?
But the other thing too is, as fiduciaries, you're supposed to be doing that.
Right.
Okay, explain fiduciary. Let's define that, because that term is thrown around a lot as well.
Yeah, I think you just need to understand that the fiduciary just means that you are taking the client's best interest at heart over yours, okay? But it also means that you also got a special license to do that.
Got it.
And I always tell people, you know, I've been in this business since '85. If I wasn't taking care of my clients, do you think I'd still be here today?
Absolutely not.
So you cannot teach your moral ethics to anybody. You have to have that, but you got to make sure that our clients are taken care of. Whether I'm here or when I'm gone, these two are going to take care of the client. That's the most important thing to me.
That's where Google reviews come in, right?
Yeah, we'll see.
I know. Now, what would you say to somebody who likes to manage money on their own? What if they're, I'm going to do this myself. I'll be fine.
So I find it kind of funny because when COVID really hit, everybody became the day trader.
Yes.
Because everybody was sitting at home and the market tanked so quickly and we got such a dramatic rebound that everybody thought they could make hand over fist money. And you could, right? I've got 3 dogs and I pick on them all the time, but I say my 3 Great Danes could just shovel some money over into the market and they could make money, right? It didn't take anybody of any kind of intelligence to make money in the market at that point in time. But guess what? In a year and a half, the money was probably gone.
Oh.
So everybody fell victim of, I can make money, I can do this, I can buy this stock, I can do this. And then they realize in 2 years that can't happen. So you really need to leave that to the professionals. I'm not saying you can't have your little E-Trade account, you can't have your whatever account, stash it. They have all these little apps anymore, Robinhood, I can't even keep track of it anymore. So if you want to play on the side, that's fine. But I don't know if you need to put your livelihood on the fact that you're not in the field, that's not your profession, you need to leave it to the professional.
And the other thing I would say is for the long haul, most of the stock markets, you're going to get somewhere around 6 or 8%. But for the average investor, guess what that is?
What?
Somewhere around 2%.
Oh.
So the difference being what?
4%.
Yeah. So they're buying at the wrong time, they're selling at the wrong time. That's
Absolutely.
the average investor.
Absolutely. So what can our viewers do now to take action?
Take action, give us a phone call, 833-897-4845. What you'll expect to receive from us is complimentary consultation. Come into the office, sit down with one of our fine gentlemen here, and what they'll get is the retirement roadmap. And best part is, once again, we do it on a complimentary basis to the first 10 callers who have saved $250,000 or more for retirement.
All right, no reason not to call, and do it right now because it's time for a commercial break. Keep those questions coming. Take advantage of our experts. Again, that number 833-897-4845. Coming up next, yes, you know what it is. We're going to feature your burning questions.
It was the longest running bull market in history. Everything was looking up. While inverted yield curves pointed to a recession, the market kept going. And then, if you're planning to retire soon, that could spell bad news for your returns. Our team can help you better withstand the bear market. Now more than ever, you need a financial professional to stand with you. Visit our website to learn more about our services. You can call or email our office to schedule your complimentary consultation today.
Welcome back to Aspire to Retire. It is our favorite part of the show. And yes, we are featuring your questions. We have a lot of them, so let's get right to it. First one comes from Betty Jo in Midlothian. Betty says, I'm 79 years old and I do not want any risk in my portfolio. I'm considering an annuity, but am I too old?
I would say it's according to what you're trying to do. You're never too old unless the company won't issue because of your age. But no, you're not too old. But if you're trying to protect your portfolio or your money, in other words, you don't want that principal that you've got, that amount of money, that bucket of money, Do you want to lose all of it or not? So that's the thing that I would say. If you're considering an annuity, understand that you have that protection. You're going to have that there for you, whatever the market does do. Correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Next question from Mason from Amelia. Mason says, is there a way to protect my money from large losses like in 2008 and the bank failures we have seen recently?
Yeah, there are ways to protect from large losses, and one of the best ways to do that is by using insurance vehicles. So we've seen some headlines recently about banks being in some trouble again. Well, we all know the FDIC sign we see right when we walk into the bank. There's a limit on what you're protected. Insurance companies are designed with much more safeguards than what we've seen in the past, and so I'd tell someone, yes, you can protect it. Let's look at insurance.
So when you say there's a limit as to what's protected at a bank, how much of your money is actually protected?
Normally it's $250,000, but in the last recent history, it's been questionable whether it's going to be 250 or maybe a little bit more, but we're going to go through their system and see how it's going to shake out.
Okay.
We don't know.
Yeah. All right. That's good to know. I wish I had that much money, but you know.
Well, you're not listening to us, or you would, right?
Oh, I know. We still need to have that sit down. I know. All right. Let's get to the next question. Billy from Powhatan. Billy says, well, maybe this is the answer. Why can't I just protect my money by putting it in the bank? Isn't that just as safe as an annuity? Well, I guess it depends how much Billy has.
So the problem with putting your money in the bank, let's put the banking issues aside for a
Okay,
minute.
all right.
The problem with putting your money in the bank is what? You're not going to make any money.
Right.
So,
well, yeah, the interest is so tiny in the savings account these days.
So the issue is no matter where you place your money, you're going to have some type of risk. The risk that you're going to have by putting your money in the bank, yeah, it's protected. Let's put the banking issues and FDIC and whatever aside. So yeah, it is safe. It's not in the market. You're not going to lose any money because of the market.
Okay.
But the problem now is you got inflation risk. If inflation is at whatever 5, 6 to 8%, your money is not making 5 to 6 to 8%. So you're not essentially losing money, but you're losing your buying power. So at the end of the day, what does money do for us? Don't tell me it buys you happiness, because it doesn't, Scott. So that's where the issue lies, is that with putting your money in the bank, you're not going to keep up with at least inflation. So yes, it's protected, but you're not making any money in return.
But it does buy you things, right?
It does buy you.
Which can get me happy.
Yes, see, I know. I liked how you kind of threw him under the bus for a second there.
Now, one thing I think we need to hit on here is all of our clientele. When you go through the roadmap process with us, we are going to talk to you about how much should you have in the bank. Banking needs to be a part of your portfolio. You need to have access to cash. But to Tim's point, how much is that cash working for you in the bank? You shouldn't have too much there.
Yeah, and we talk to a lot of people, and a lot of people have that big round number. A lot of people, I've seen a lot, is $50,000 to $100,000. Usually, and I hate rules of thumb. Rules of thumb is 3 to 6 months worth of expenses. That's left up for debate. But there is a number of cash that you need to have at the bank. So if an emergency happens, that's your emergency fund. You need to go there, that's where it's at. But you don't need to have an astronomical amount of money in the bank.
But you never know. There's clients, I've got one client that came in and she was basically telling me that she was not happy with her investments in the bank or her account because it wasn't up to a certain amount. And I said, well, okay, how much is that amount? Well, I want $500,000 in the bank that I can get my hands on. Ooh. And I said, well, okay, I don't understand why, but how much do you have now? I've got $496,000 and I can't sleep at night because it's not there.
What?
And I'm like,
I'll take some of that money.
Yeah, that's right. But everything is different. Everybody's different. So like Tim says, $50,000 for somebody is enough. $50,000 for some other people may not be enough, like her.
Yeah, I guess it all depends on your lifestyle and your circumstances. Absolutely. And that's why the roadmap is so important, which, speaking of that, Marco from Fredericksburg says, I've been watching your show for years, and I know that you're big on doing that roadmap. But if I just wanted investment advice, can you offer that to me?
Yeah, we can do that. So we like to steer everybody into the roadmap because most people haven't taken a look at a budget, believe it or not.
Right.
A lot of people have overlooked things in a budget. Like there's one thing that we discuss with people, and that's gifts. People don't even factor that in. You know, and people are like, well, I don't have kids, I don't give gifts. Well,
yeah,
you probably have siblings, you probably
Nephews.
have parents, you probably have nieces or nephews.
Yes.
There are things that you don't account for. So we like to go through the roadmap process. But there are people that come in that just say, hey, here are my statements. This is how I've got my money invested. What do you think? And we can ask some questions and we can give some decent advice or good advice. But we do like going through the roadmap process because that gives us a look at everything.
But there's also those engineers that come in with their spreadsheets with everything laid out.
True too. Yeah.
Hey, don't knock on engineers.
But if that is what they want, Marco, if that is what you want and you just want strictly investment advice, we can give you that as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can do it all, personalize it to somebody's needs. Now we're going to look at Sue from Atlee. Sue says, what would be the best life insurance for me if I wanted to make sure that I don't outlive my policy?
Go ahead, Scott.
Permanent life insurance.
Okay.
And I'm going to let Ralph expand on that. Ralph's got quite a bit of experience with life and with life insurance.
All right, Ralph.
Well, what I would just say, it depends on what you're trying to do. If all you wanted to do is protect your mortgage for 20 years, I would suggest you do it this way. But if you need money for as long as you live, then, like Scott said, cash value life insurance is a perfect permanent way of doing that. There's different types in there that we could sit down and talk about, but it really depends on what you're doing. So I'm going to ask this question I do a lot. If you could buy a $500,000 life insurance policy and pay $50 a month for it, or $1,000 a month, which would you buy?
Wait, 50 or what?
Or $1,000 a month?
I want to pay the cheaper one
Why?
because it's less money out of my pocket right now.
That is true, but what if your main goal was to have as much tax-free income 25 years from
See,
now?
that's what's hard to think about.
But that's what we do. That's
I
what we sit
know.
down and discuss with people. What are your goals? What are you trying to accomplish? And then we match that.
That is the
Correct?
hard part. Because, yeah, I'd rather just spend a little bit each month rather than throwing more at it because it's scary, but it's all about long-term planning.
Correct. That is correct.
All right. Well, gosh, you have a wonderful offer for our viewers. Let's remind them one more time.
Absolutely. So for the first 10 callers who have saved $250,000 or more for retirement, we'd like for them to call 833-897-4845. We'd like to personally invite them into the office where we'll sit down with them one-on-one and create this retirement roadmap for them. And guess what, Cheryl? The best part is we do it on a complimentary basis.
Say that one more time.
A complimentary basis.
Music to my ears. Yeah, you read my mind there. All right, guys, that wraps up today's show. Thank you so much for joining us on Aspire to Retire. Next time, we will talk about the different stages of retirement. Did you know there were different stages? Yeah. If you want some advice, call us again right now. That number is 833-897-4845, and you could be featured on our next episode. On behalf of all of us here at Aspire to Retire, I'm your host, Cheryl Nelson. Have a great day.